Today I'm here at Dumplings and More in San Diego to review their dumplings. Now, a lot of cities and towns in the US, especially like Midwest, Southeast, anywhere where there's not a strong Asian presence, there's really no dumpling restaurant. And there may not even be any good Asian Chinese restaurants. Believe me, I've been to a lot of places from very you know, white dominated places to more diverse places. And my point is that I'm really excited to see this dumpling store. Now I'm walking away because I got them to go and I just ordered them on the phone and they still need like at least 10-15 minutes before they're ready. And I'm just not, I was initially thinking I would dine in, but I'm just not happy with the parking situation here. San Diego, at least in this area, which I assume is more like downtown-ish, it's just really hard to find parking. If you're lucky, you can find street parking. Like I wish I saw this spot earlier. And then if you do, then it's like you have to parallel park in, or someone will take it by the time you get here. Or there are parking lots, but you have to pay like, a decent amount of money just to park there for every hour. So I ended up just getting like a quick spot by a Walgreens. You can't stay there long, like more than like 30 minutes. And then I'm just gonna go grab this and then eat it and review it in my car. I mean, I wish I saw that parking spot I just passed earlier, but it is what it is. Anyhow, super pumped for dumplings. Even in like bigger town cities like Las Vegas, you would expect there to be like a dumpling restaurant, but there really isn't a good one. Even in like big cities like New York, I guess New York's an exception, but like there's a lot of like bigger cities where like whether it's DC or I don't know, Miami, where you would expect to see something like a dumpling restaurant, but there really isn't because Miami, there's more Latin people than Asians for sure, by a long shot. And then also there's not just enough demand or interest for it. So usually, like when I was in Miami, you would go to a Chinese restaurant and then a little side menu item would be dumplings, and you wouldn't get a lot. You would get like 3 for like $12. It's ridiculous. Whereas here, it's a little bit better. You're still paying like a little bit more than $1 per dumpling, but I think I paid about $15 for 12 dumplings, which is still not great. I mean, I would say you could get those cheaper in New York. The best way of doing it is essentially at home. $1 per dumpling is ridiculous. When I grew up with my family and my mom, we would buy and make our own dough and pork and like basically make our own dumplings. And through that, I think the cost per dumpling was a fraction of it, probably like 5, 10, 20 cents. I don't know the exact number, but you're not paying $1.50 per dumpling. And the quality was even better than the stores. We could buy like organic meat and all that stuff, and it'd still be cheaper than $1.50 or $1 per dumpling, which is still ridiculous. But that's probably the best you'll get in a lot of places across the US. And I guess the last thing I want to say here is that dumplings are amazing and delicious if done right. Unfortunately, a lot of restaurants, a lot of cities and towns in the US, it's really just not something of huge interest or concern, so they're not oftentimes crafted right, or they're crafted in kind of like a fast food way like that, or just a faster pace. Now this store, Dumplings and More, seems to be a legit, pretty nice place where there's actually, sit down tables and all this stuff. Shout out to Houston, Texas, another place with a very established Chinatown where there's quite a lot of places that sell dumplings for a more affordable rate. So, there's a few places that kind of are standouts where, I have to tip my hat. But yeah, there's a lot of places surprisingly that are not. And San Diego, I have to tip my hat a bit because at least they have literally a restaurant dedicated to dumplings and other, Asian foods that are a little less known. Now, some people might be like, I've had dumplings, I've had soup dumplings. Well, first off, great that you had them, but those are not dumplings. Those are a different breed. I love soup dumplings. They're different, but in fact, sometimes I love them more than regular dumplings, but they're not the same thing at all. Soup dumplings have obviously soup in them. It's hot, juicy, warm soup. It's usually made up of the fatty, it's a much fattier content of pork with less chives and green onions and other stuff in there. It's a completely different breed, and it's a completely different taste. Even the dough is a bit different. But yeah, I would say whether you're Asian or not, I think it would be really cool if you can find some Asian friends and then make dumplings together. It's really not that difficult to make them. And when you do, it's going to be a lot more dumplings for a lot less cost. I could eat 30, 40 dumplings in one sitting, whereas you can't really do that in a restaurant because you're paying $15 for just 12. So just keep that in mind, and then you're getting better quality for a much less price. And it's a social experience. You get to teach people how to make these dumplings. It's really not that hard to make, and if you don't want to make the dough from scratch, my mom in the later years would buy you could literally buy pre-made dough cut into those little circles at an Asian grocery store like H Mart. And through that, you can skip the whole dough making and cutting process. Now, in my experience, that type of pre-made dough cut into those little circles are not nearly as good. There's something kind of lower quality about the dough. You can taste it, you can feel it, it's thin, it's something about I don't know what it is, preservatives in there. I can taste the difference. If it's flimsy, it's not as good. So, there is a trade-off to that. But if you want to make it dead simple and just a social experience, you can literally buy the pre-made dough. So all you're really doing is mixing the pork together with the chives and green onions, and then putting the meat inside and then learning how to fold it. And it is a little bit of a skill, but it's also a really social experience where you get your friends together and they're all making it together with you as you chat. All right, guys, I cannot wait. So here are the dumplings. I just found a seat at this table in front of this closed bar, so hopefully I don't get kicked out. But I just want to get a quick taste and give you a quick preview of how these taste. Obviously, if you drive north to San Francisco, there's probably going to be better quality. Or LA really. They're both dominated by Asians apparently. But we're in San Diego, and I'm just going to give you my one taste test review. You get 12, as I mentioned. These are a certain way of folding them that's interesting. Nothing wrong with that. Pretty good. Now, these actually come in I think there's 6 or 7 choices of flavors. You could get them with shrimp inside. You could get them beef instead of pork, and so on and so forth. A lot of variations that are not the common, most popular version that I'm used to. So I got the most popular or common that I'm used to growing up, which is the pork with green onions or chives. Okay, I'll put this in the middle. So not bad, not the best I've ever had, but fairly solid in the middle. So probably a 4 out of 5 maybe. Yeah, 4 out of 5. Fairly solid. Wouldn't write home to mom about this, but nothing wrong with them.